I'm Mark Unger, producer of Roundtable. Because we find this presentation so special, we really would like for you to see this. Please watch.
Good evening. Welcome to Single-Shotted Roundtable, Manhattan Neighborhood Network. Tonight we will be again talking about future, but this time we will be talking not just about future of art, but about future of humanity. We'll be talking about children, the next generation of artists, collectors, thinkers, and the whole humanity in whole. And in order to discuss it, we invited an artist, a traveler, and also an educator in field of art, Natalia Maks. Hello, Natalia. Thank you for joining us today to talk about this probably the most vital issue. I mean, we all creating art. We're all so happy to show what we have, but you, besides creating beautiful artworks, you're also creating the future for the art in general from both sides. So what was the first thing I wanted to ask you, what I wanted to start this conversation with, is how the way kids today perceiving art in general and photography specifically, we are talking about photography, different from how we was perceiving it in 30 years ago when I was going to school.
Okay, first of all, thank you very much for inviting, for the interesting conversation, and I'm glad to participate in that. First of all, I would like to tell you that I have the formal art education. I have master's degree in fine arts, and gradually working for some time as an artist. So I moved into the educational fields, and in parallel, I'm still an artist. So one thing doesn't harm the other, and I find a lot of satisfaction in teaching children art. Currently, I'm teaching the post-production, all Adobe, in the suburb of New York City high school. And besides that, as you know, so I'm a photographer myself.
Quite a fine photographer, I have to say.
Thank you so much. So I think those two things, like being a photographer, being an artist, and being an educator, they're going together. As of the modern kids perceiving art, it's quite a conversation. It's not easy to answer that question, because I think we're in the process, of studying, how modern child is perceiving art, and how open that a modern child to react on that art. So I think it's up to the adults and up to the educator to navigate them in that ocean of information, in the ocean of visual information. So I wouldn't go into the parental control, because again, with parental control, you are giving you are giving the child certain limitation. You are passing on them your particular view.
Indeed.
And I'm guilty of that myself, because I cannot say that my students are not receiving, let's say, my perception on art, my perception, my views, because I'm passing my particular knowledge on them.
It's impossible not to be biased when you talk about that, especially being an artist yourself.
So it's practically impossible to be objective. Okay,
course.
and I think when people are saying like, oh, you have to try to be objective in, for instance, assessing the creative process, I can tell you that mission impossible. Okay,
Absolutely.
because our own perception on art is quite subjective, and I would say that what I can teach my students, I can teach them the tools. I can teach them the fine instruments. I can teach them how to use the terms, the certain rules. But at the end of the day, it's up to that young learner, how they would like to deliver that visual message. What they would like to create. Again, it's up to them.
Oh, positively it is. So, tell me, Natalia, what would you say is an underlying perception of modern art that we see in the generation that is being growing right now? Because my understanding is, again, I'm very far from being an educator. I barely interact with kids in my everyday life, but my perception is that the whole concept of fine art becoming to be a little shaky in the modern world.
Yes, it's quite a challenge to explain the modern art for the young student, for any human at all. And I would say that I think it's an opportunity for the students stop pushing right, okay, on their media, whatever they are using, on iPad, on any kind of tablet, or on a phone, and just really not just gaze, not just let the images go through, but really take it in, okay. Any image, if I would like a student pay attention to the image, I would ask them to scan that, okay? And I even direct them how they should scan that. So, for instance, today, let's look at this work of art. Would you please scan that? And because we even have to teach now how you have to look into the work of art. So I would ask the student, scan that work of art from top to bottom, or from left to right. So I would modify that, and after that I will ask them, all right, so now let's focus on the colors. Let's focus on the subject. What do you think going on? I'm trying to withhold the information, the background information, what I'm aware of, so that I know the background, I know what kind of relevance that work had. But I would like they really pause. That is very important part. Pause and really peer into the work of art. That unfortunately not happening right now. So, and I really have to put some effort into asking my students to look deep into the work of art. And after that, so after they start to bring some superficial analysis to that work, I start to give them a little bit of the background information on that work of art. So now, so people try to say that education is very close to entertainment. Yes, we have to bring the element of entertainment into that. And if the work of art has some kind of interesting story, gossips, okay, or criminal background, of course it makes that work of art much more interesting, much more fascinating. So we have to use those tricks to bring the attention of our audience, of our students, to the art. So, and of course I have to bring the most important point, that the art, what I would like to introduce to my students, has to be somehow relevant, okay, to their life. If it's not relevant, so that's going to be again the push to the right or push to the left, and what is next? What is next? So it's again going to be quite a superficial view.
So deconstructing art and actually revealing the structure behind the final image is something that helps to actually stop the attention, right?
I think in a way, yes. So it's I think the work of art needs to have that wow factor.
Indeed, absolutely.
So it has to have some kind of that interest in that. Okay, we starting the conversation. I think even it's one of the modern description. What is art right now? What is art right now? It's anything what worth of our attention. So, and it's not necessarily that each and every work of art going to raise the interest in the same with the same audience, or for instance, that art is interested in with this population, and another art would be interested much more exciting with another population.
I will ask you more about the interaction of art and the viewer after the short break, and please save this wow factor thought. We will definitely get back to it. Alright, we're back. So I think we paid a lot of attention to kids, and now we probably need to ask some more personal questions, more related to you as an artist. So we was talking about explaining art to the kids, but the artist also have his own audience of children he have to deal with. We call them collectors. So tell me, Natalia, being educated helps you in explaining your artworks to collectors, to visitors of the gallery, to general public who you show and you walk to?
I think in a way, yes, because it's sort of like, oh, if I look at my audience in the gallery, or at my, like, as my students, that definitely it gives me some courage to approach them and start to explain what I'm doing. In general, I would say that each and every artist is an educator.
Absolutely.
So each and every artist is educating his audience by bringing the message the new way, okay, bringing the message, like, because they have something to say. They have something to deliver. They have something to share to their audience. That they do have that eager, okay, to create, okay, something new, to create their world and share that world with their audience. Of course, it helps to deliver the message. because I possess that knowledge. So what would be sellable right now? Okay, what is relevant right now? You definitely have to, as an artist, you have to study your audience, okay, for whom you're creating that art. If we are talking about the collectors, if we are talking about the buyers, the art buyers. But so I think if we would, as an artist, if I would do everything only for to sell the art, I think I would stop pretty soon.
Well, that would be graphic design, that wouldn't be art.
Yes, and yes, for the buck, we're all doing that job, so we're all going through that. But as an artist, the artist creating everything first for themselves, okay, to figure out their own world, and after that share that with their audience, with their viewers. And it's not necessarily like each and every viewer going to respond to that work equally. If it's not relevant, to that viewer, then why struggle? Why struggle? So whereas I think nowadays there's art for like everyone, for every taste, for every perception, and I think everything has a place in this world, has a room in this world.
So some of the artists have the message they're trying to deliver put together in concise form. For some of them it's more of an emotional message they understand but wouldn't be able to verbalize. Which one are you? Do you know exactly what you're trying to tell your audience, or it's more on an emotional level?
That's quite a difficult question.
Absolutely.
I think it's both. Okay, and in some work it's going to be more of the narrative. Okay, some of the work of art might be more narrative, and some of them, let's say, more visual. I can tell you that in my art, in my photographs, I'm a collector myself. So usually I'm not like a single shot. I'm not for the single shot. I'm for the collection. Okay, so for me it's important to create the story, but the story can be done not only telling the actual story like we see that. For me it's a story which captures, for instance, different type of texture, okay, and that story, it could be the creation, the story of different type of texture, or it's, I have a collection of the doors around the world, and for me it's absolutely precious collection, because for me the door, what is that? Is it a
portal?
Entrance? Is it an entrance to the different world, to the different space? What is behind that door? Or maybe it's nothing interesting there. So it's an enigma in a way. And the doors around the world, actually, more I look at them, more I mesmerized by them. So that's one of the collection. And another biggest collection, the biggest and very close to my heart, people. People are the best creations, and their eyes, the characters. I love all my models, all of them. People around the world, the people from Africa, from India, from Thailand. So it's wonderful when you can approach them, when you can ask to pose for them. Its new world is opening with each and every portrait. When they allow you to photograph them, you're creating so many new friends. You're creating positive emotions. And I think this is one of the most precious collection, what I have. So
Well, photographers who are photographing people, I believe you're talking about street photography, right? Not the studio photography.
yes, yes.
They divide it in two large groups. You and I belong to the one I call the humble ones. We actually ask. The other one just shoots first and then ask later, just like in the Western movies. So what do you think about this approach? I mean, it does have its merits. You create the spontaneous imagery this way, but for me personally, the interaction you have with the model before the shot actually is part of the final result.
Yes, so it's a very sensitive topic because as a traveler, photographing only the architecture, the landscape, let's say the animals, it's sort of coming with the limitation of the whole exploration of the new place. So when you photograph the people, you are bringing your collections, your travel collections to the different level. Asking the people permission, so it's a good gesture, but sometimes it could be the language limitation and cultural differences. For instance, photographing somewhere in Asia, so it's quite an experience because actually they also want to be photographed with you. So, and it's very interesting experience as well. I'm quite tall, and when I travel to Asia, when I travel to India, so I always raise that interest, like people wanted to be photographed with a tall woman. So that was sort of an exchange, okay? In a way, it was yes, it was very interesting.
Compensated.
And it's always plentiful of interesting stories, okay, behind each and every portrait.
Great. Okay, so we'll have our second break, and after that I will have a big question to ask. Alrighty, so we're coming to the end of our show, and I know, Natalia, that you actually have two shows coming up pretty soon, in one of which actually I also will be participating. So there is a big question I want to ask you, and that is, the kids and collectors are basically of the same species. Collectors are just grown-up kids. So how we can make a collector to have this wow feeling you was mentioning before? I told you to save the thought. How on those exhibitions that are coming you would convince them that this work is the one they really want to have on their wall?
I think, as we were talking earlier, that we have to break it down to sort of simple rules that yes, so the work has to stand out, the work has to have some kind of wow factor. So when you bring that to extreme, that it's not going to be lost in a pile of the other work, of the other visual images, what the students or the collectors they're going through. The work has to be relevant. It should be relevant either to the student life or to their interests or to the current event or to those historical events which are very close to us. Or, and I think the additional thing, it's the quality of delivery, okay, and the way how that message is delivered. So here I would bring the skills. In a way, it's the skills and maybe unusual methods of delivering that information, delivering that message to your audience. So, and all of that, I think we can observe at one of the show, which is going to run for 2 weeks in Tierra Cultural Institution, and we have the opening night next Thursday. May 3rd at night, and I have another show at the Grand Central Public Library for the whole month of May.
I definitely should make a point of dropping by, but when we was talking about this wow effect actually on a break, you mentioned one very important point, taking the idea to the extreme. And I just didn't want to lose that one.
Okay, good luck with that. So bringing everything to extreme,
yes,
it's quite a challenge.
But this is necessary in order to make them stop, lose their breath, and reach out for their wallet. All right, thank you very much, Natalia. It was really a pleasure talking with you tonight, and I will see you soon at this exhibition. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
I hope you found that worth watching as much as I did. I'm Mark Unger for Roundtable. Thanks for watching.